This is how I spent 1 month travelling across the Philippines. As I'd already been to Manila before, I actually only spent one night in the city this time, but it is an incredible city, really fun, pretty crazy, but there's quite a lot to do and see, so I definitely recommend spending a bit more time in Manila if it's your first time visiting the country. After my quick stopover in Manila, I then took a cheap flight over to Cebu the next day. I then immediately took a taxi down to Malbol. You can actually get the bus, which is what I did last time, but it takes quite a long time. There's a few different stops, and yeah, I just couldn't be bothered, to be honest. The taxi was about £15 in total, so yeah, it was a no-brainer for me. But if you want to keep it cheaper and want a bit more of an adventure, then the bus is a great option. It is significantly cheaper, and the views are incredible on the way as well. So Malbol was my first proper stop on this trip to the Philippines. You definitely need a few nights there, as there are quite a lot of activities to do. The main things are snorkeling, which is absolutely incredible in Malbol. There's lots of turtles, obviously you've got the coral reefs, and also you can see huge schools of sardines, which is also really cool. You also need to do the canyoneering at Kawasan Falls. I actually did this a few years ago, back in 2020, so I didn't do it this time round, but I can honestly say it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It's definitely not for everyone, especially if you're not a big fan of heights or a confident swimmer, but in my opinion it's definitely one of the best things you can do in Southeast Asia. The last waterfall jump is obviously the biggest. I think it's around 40 to 50 feet high. I actually jumped off this and looked down as soon as I landed, ended up hitting my face into the water and getting a nosebleed, and hurt my back as well, so yeah, don't recommend copying my approach.
Ready? Yeah. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go!
After a few days in Malbol, I then continued further south to Siquijor Island. It's definitely not the easiest place to get to. You do need to take a few buses and ferries to get over to the island, but it's definitely worth it. And obviously on the way, the views are unreal as well. Siquijor is also filled with amazing beaches that are really good for snorkeling as well. To be honest, pretty much the Philippines is all beaches, and if you don't like beaches, then I'm not really sure what you're doing in the Philippines, to be honest. There's also loads of waterfalls to explore as well, but I do recommend having a scooter. You can take tuk-tuks, but they're going to get a bit expensive after a while, and yeah, it's just so much more fun riding a scooter as well. The roads in Siquijor are actually really quiet, so it's a really good place to practice riding a scooter if you don't already know how to, because yeah, I think it's pretty much a necessity on this island. Siquijor Island also had amazing sunsets pretty much every night, to be honest. This is what most of the evenings looked like on the island. After Siquijor, I then travelled over to Bohol by ferry. The journey takes a few hours, and I think the tickets were only a few pounds, so quite cheap, but yeah, this was a couple of years ago. The main thing to do on Bohol Island is definitely to go and see the Chocolate Hills. They're basically hundreds, if not thousands, of brown-coloured hills, hence the name, the Chocolate Hills. I hired a scooter from a hostel and drove there myself, but you can probably take a taxi as well. But the roads are actually quite smooth and the drive itself is very fun, so if you can ride a scooter, then I definitely recommend doing that instead of taking a taxi. see, the views are quite impressive and definitely something that's unique. I've never seen anything like this before personally, so definitely something that you need to come and see whilst you're in the Philippines. In Bohol, you can also go to a tarsier sanctuary. They're essentially these tiny little creatures that are native to the Philippines and live in trees. They're really interesting to see, but you do need to be really quiet and careful because if they're disturbed, they can actually die. So this was part 1 of my month-long trip in the Philippines, where I covered Manila, Cebu, Malbo, Siquijor, and over to Bohol. In part 2, I'll travel to Siargao and Malapascua, which were 2 of my favourite places in the whole country.